Under the scorching sun of Al-Andalus, the wide river of Guadalquivir wound its way past olive groves and sleepy towns, carrying with it the memory of centuries of trade and knowledge. Along its waters, saffron once drifted on merchant boats, silk passed through its currents, olive oil flowed by the barrel, and scholars traveled from town to town, sharing the wisdom of far-off lands. It was a river of life, a river of wealth, and a river of culture. But on this particular day, in the waning light of September, in the year 844, after the birth of Christ, its gentle waters no longer moved only with merchants and fishermen. They were now disturbed by the sudden and dreadful sight of dragons. They were not creatures of legend, but dragon-headed ships gliding silently through the fog. 60 vessels carved in the icy fjords of the distant north, their wooden hulls cutting through the water. With practiced ease their sails dyed blood red, so that even the horizon itself seemed aflame. The people of Al-Andalus knew these men by many names. To the Arabs they were the Magus fire worshippers. To the Franks they were Northmen. To history they became known as the Vikings. These northern raiders had already struck terror into the coasts of Francia. They had pillaged Bordeaux, laid waste to Rouen, and torched Nantes. No kingdom in the west seemed safe from their sudden fury, and now their eyes had turned toward the Iberian Peninsula. Like a storm descending from the heavens, they swept along the western coast of Iberia. Lisbon fell first, its people caught unprepared. The raiders looted its markets before burning its ships in the harbor. Then they struck at Cadiz and Medina Sidonia, reducing them both to ash. No village, no town, no shrine was safe. And with their bloodlust unsated, the Vikings followed the Guadalquivir inland, their oars beating rhythmically against the current like the pounding of war drums. At the end of their course lay one of the great jewels of the south, the city of Iberia, Seville, the beating heart of commerce, faith, and learning. It stood undefended, its walls weakened by years of peace, and its people unaware of the storm about to break upon them. At dawn on the 1st of October, in the year 844, the Vikings came. Isa ibn Shuhaid, the governor of Seville, sounded the alarm. His cry rang through the streets, "Men of Al-Andalus, to arms! Defend your homes, protect the masjid!" But the defenders were few and the attackers many. The longships disgorged warriors clad in leather and iron, their axes flashing like thunder, their round shields locking together against every arrow loosed from the walls. By nightfall, flames consumed the markets and houses of Seville. For 7 days the Vikings held the city. They plundered its wealth, burned its granaries, and dragged women and children away in chains. Yet amid the chaos, the great mosque stood defiantly. A pocket of resistance gathered within its walls, holding out as best they could. The city was broken, but its spirit was not yet crushed. Far away in the capital of Córdoba, news arrived at the court of Emir Rahman II. Word spread that Seville had fallen to foreign pagans' men from the icy north, who came in dragon ships gliding like ghosts through the river mists. They torched one of the greatest cities of Islam. To the Emir it was an outrage that could not go unanswered. He summoned his commanders and declared that the river which had carried these invaders inland would become the place of their drowning. Among those he entrusted with this mission was Muhammad ibn Rustam, a seasoned commander of the Andalusian fleet. Without delay, Abd al-Rahman dispatched his elite troops. Cavalry and polished mail rode swiftly south, their curved swords flashing in the sun. Infantry marched in ranks, their shields painted with the crescent. The men carried vengeance in their hearts, for they knew that the honor of Al-Andalus demanded nothing less. Ibn Rustam himself prepared his fleet. Warships newly outfitted cut through the waters of the Guadalquivir, intercepting the Viking vessels as they attempted to retreat with their plunder. In mid-October, the two forces clashed along the marshy banks of the river. The Norsemen were caught unprepared, weighed down with spoils and slowed by their longships. Yet they fought with ferocity, their shields raised, their axes whirling through the air. A brutal naval battle erupted, as ships collided and men leapt from deck to deck. Arrows darkened the sky, and close-quarters combat left the waters stained with blood. But this time the fury of the Vikings was not enough. The Muslim warriors pressed their attack relentlessly, their discipline and numbers overwhelming the raiders. Fires broke out on the longships. Flames climbed the carved dragon prows that once terrified the coasts. Now it was the turn of the invaders to burn. By the end of the battle, more than 500 Norsemen lay dead, their bodies drifting in the river or scattered on the banks. 30 ships were lost to fire or shattered to splinters. Nearly 400 more were taken captive, their spirit broken, their escape cut off. Before the fight began, Muhammad ibn Rustam had stood upon the bow of his ship and declared to his men, "They crossed our waters with fire, and now we will drown them with steel." His words proved true. The captives were bound and brought to Cordoba, paraded through the streets beneath the blazing sun. The people jeered, throwing stones at the humbled warriors who only days before had spread terror. Emir Rahman issued a decree both grim and symbolic. The prisoners would be executed publicly, every last one of them. It was not only justice, but a warning carved into memory, not with ink, but with blood. Never again, he vowed, would Al-Andalus be caught unprepared by such men. In the months that followed, the emir set about transforming his realm. He commissioned the first true Andalusian navy, not vessels of trade, but ships of war designed to patrol and defend the coast. Along the vulnerable shoreline, fortresses were raised, strongholds of stone that would serve as bulwarks against any future threat. Watchtowers rose like sentinels over ports, and river mouths their beacons ready to blaze at the first sign of danger. And in Seville itself the people rebuilt. The scars of fire still marked their homes, but the city stood more defiant than ever. Stronger walls were raised, new defenses planned, and the spirit of resilience burned, brighter than before. The Viking raid of 844 marked the first recorded clash between the world of the Norse and the Muslim power of Al-Andalus. It was a meeting of two distant civilizations, one born of icy fjords and the other of sun-baked plains. For the Vikings it was a rare defeat, a reminder that not all lands could be taken with the axe and shield. For Al-Andalus it was a moment of awakening. The emir understood that the wealth of his realm made it a target, and only vigilance and strength could preserve it. The Guadalquivir, once a river of trade, had also become a river of blood, but it had carried with it a new era of defense and determination. And so history remembers that under the blistering sun of the South Dragon ships once dared to pierce the heart of Iberia, but they found themselves broken by the steel of its defenders. Seville, though scarred, survived. Cordoba, though shaken, endured. And the name of Rahman II became forever tied to the day when Al-Andalus rose against the storm from the north and prevailed.